Hi everyone, welcome back to Event Advice by CrowdComms. I'm Will, the product director here, and I'm joined as always with Matt. Today we're going to be talking about integrations and everything involved in making sure your products all talk to each other for your events. So Matt, let's kick straight into it. Let's start with really defining what we mean by integrations.
Your team love integrations, don't they? It's one of the things that they love most of their job as a team of developers.
There's a lot of work involved in the tech behind integrations, yeah.
So your initial question, what is an integration, or the basics of it? An integration is a tool that moves data from one place to another. It could be used in a registration capacity. It could be used pushing data to a CRM. It could be a single-way integration. It can be a two-way integration. They're so varied, the complexity of them varies so much. Yeah. But the premise is you're trying to connect two different tools so that you can move data.
Yeah. So let's touch on, we hear a lot in our industry about integrations and event professionals needing solid integrations between the multiple platforms that they use. And it can be different for every single person. But when we're talking about the services that you can leverage for integrations, or whether your event tech provider might be able to help you with that, or you can use things outside of the platforms that you're using, what are we looking at when we're talking about that?
I suppose you consider first of all, is there a custom or a bespoke integration that's in place? So we, as you know, because we build a lot of them, have a number of systems that we know are regularly used, so regularly used that we build a custom integration. So Cvent's a perfect example of that, isn't it?
Yep.
You come to us as a Cvent customer, and there's lots of other alternatives. I'm just using Cvent as an example. Then we have a purpose-built integration with Cvent, and it will move that data and complex data, multi-fields, that will pull registration information into our system, whether it be for on-site badging or whether it be for an app. Now, so that's a custom integration. You have most of the tech companies who have like an open API, public API, and that can be leveraged for integrations with third-party tools. I think Zapier probably being the most commonly known. Yep. So that's where you've basically got something that sits in the middle of two companies, a registration company, for example, and us, or a CRM and us. And it sits in the middle, and information's pushed into it, and then pushed from that into us. And then it might be pushed from us into it, and then pushed from it back into the other company. Yep. So that's kind of sitting in the middle. And there's a number of different options. You know, it's not just Zapier. There's a number of other potentially more cost-effective options that are available that you could use as well. Or you can build your own custom API, leveraging our public available API. And there's lots of clients that are doing that now. It depends on the complexity of what you're trying to move, and that's why it's so difficult. People say, do you integrate? Yes. But then some of the information they're asking for is so unique to their project that quite often it becomes muddied and very complicated.
Yeah, especially when they're trying to build up a profile of each of these customers that are attending their multiple events across years, trying to actually get a history and build up a profile of each type of person. It can get very, very, very complicated, can't it? So let me ask you about the industry's least liked phrase probably is the all-in-one thing. So why are some companies aiming for this, air quotes, all-in-one solution rather than integrating with lots and lots of different platforms?
It's probably, I think all-in-one is almost impossible to achieve.
Yeah.
When you're talking about what is crucial to validate business decisions, it's a centralized system that you use as an organization, which is normally a CRM. So a CRM like HubSpot will do registration. With time, they may well do EventTech. And they're probably the only ones that have got the potential to be all-in-one, because the market, the industry around a centralized CRM is so much greater from a revenue perspective than in our very specific event technology. So I think when we talk about all-in-one, it's going to be the event journey specifically, but we're going to be reliant on integrations to push into a CRM. So the all-in-one term, we want people to choose the technology that is most appropriate for their requirements at every stage of the journey. And sometimes that means that you will be required to pick specific technologies that really hit the mark for registration, or a specific thing that you need on-site badging. And you're going to need systems to integrate, and we have a responsibility to help people to do that. What we are seeing a lot with our client base is that you have a requirement or a need to keep everything in one place and not have to have the faff of integration. So I think sometimes people are willing to accept maybe a bit of compromise. What we've focused on as a tech company is reducing that compromise of every step of the journey, making sure that we tick as many boxes so that we can focus on pushing that information to the CRM. But you can use us for your networking, your matchmaking. You can use us for your on-site check-in. We've got comprehensive registration, and we have the event app or the virtual hybrid platform that meets your requirements. Yeah. And as crucially, you can get the data, the reports that validate your business decision.
Yeah, and push that data back in. So it's the loop, isn't it? It's that, that two-way integration is important. And from a product point of view, we want to do the bits that make sense for our product, right? So we're never going to be a CRM. We don't want to be a CRM. That doesn't make any sense for us to go that direction. So making sure we've got integrations with those CRMs and they are robust and we can customize them for people and we can help along the way is really, really important, isn't it? Because, what people don't want, what we're hearing from clients is people don't want an integration for badging, event app, registration, the bits we know we can deal with. So if we can do that in one platform, that saves you 4 or 5 integrations.
Exactly.
And then you can go on and do the bigger bits, your data one end, your CRM the other, and then it makes sense for the other product, isn't it, in your suite?
The reason it's so important for us, and let's just remove integrations, but it's continuity of user experience.
Yeah.
When you integrate multiple solutions, you miss that crucial element that they're all building in different ways. It becomes very siloed. And if we are responsible for the registration, the event app, then you've got that continuity, not just at end user level, but from an admin perspective. But it's absolutely crucial that we feed back and push back to the CRM, because that is where people will be making their business decisions, not just their event journey, but their commercial business decisions.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about those plug and play integrations that you touched on, Zapier, etc. We see some reluctance from clients to go down that route, don't they? They would prefer their EventTech provider to deal with their integrations for them.
Of course they would.
Why is that?
I mentioned earlier on Zapier is one of many, but there's a cost element involved, and we cannot take the responsibility of leveraging the cost with our own Zapier account. So it sits on the client to have the account, the Zapier account that sits in the middle. Yeah. So I think there's cost hesitancy. But it's complex, isn't it? You've got to do it on a project basis or a client basis, and so you've got to set up that integration. And they are also different. That is also one of the things that's positive about Zapier, is that it has got flexibility of creating, niche requirements on a case-by-case basis. So they want us to do it because, we can do a month, 2 months of development work to build a bespoke integration for their requirements. Where it falls down is that a month or 2 months of 2 developers is £15,000 or £20,000. Yep. And that's the bit that makes that, it's like the project suddenly becomes how important is that to us? Yep. Zapier might cost a couple $100 compared to building out a very bespoke requirement on integration. Our responsibility is to have a really comprehensive public API that it enables people to get the information they need, and then for us to do exactly what we are doing. Focus on the CRMs, listen to our clients. Clients, probably 100 of our clients use Cvent for registration. I don't want to ignore that. Yep. That's ridiculous. And we've got many others. We've spent months and months maintaining integrations historically for clients. We've got one particular one that takes months of our time. It's 2 clients using an integration, bespoke one. So we've got to be careful about those decisions and why we're doing it. And again, without being too selfish, we have a comprehensive registration solution ourselves that people can leverage.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that I often think that when people go away and either do it with our public API as a bespoke development project with some engineers that they've either contracted in or they've got in-house, or they try and use a no-code solution like Zapier or one of the alternatives, of which there are plenty and do seem to be a bit cheaper. I can't speak for the robustness of them, but I do think that gives an appreciation of how complicated we're talking about this task is. You know, if you think that one event organizer, they've got a very complicated integration strategy, and then as an event tech provider, you multiply that over hundreds of clients, over thousands of events, that all of a sudden, you know, to stick up for what we do as a development team and how much time and effort I know we put into maintaining them, building them in the first place, and sort of giving them away as part of the package is, it makes me a bit defensive of how complicated each of those are and the appreciation of how many of those we're trying to do. And each one of them, you know, you might think that each one of them is straightforward, simple, plug and play. You might, your first name, last name, email. That's all everyone wants. It's never that straightforward. Everyone has a requirements of, oh no, but it would be useful if we had this custom field mapped to that custom field over there. And each of the platform's naming conventions is slightly different. So it's never like a one-to-one mapping solution. It's nothing is as easy as it seems. And I can see why clients want it to be easy. You know, there are lots and lots of products that I use where I would love that application to do more for me for the amount of money that I pay for it. But in reality, it's a bit harder than that.
It's a very difficult commercial decision. We have to do it. We do it. If it doesn't mean it's easy. What you tend to find happening is that, in this case, a team of 16 developers is having to take 3 of their team and leverage their resources in a way to serve the big organizations. It's never the big giant business who is responsible for the organization. Yeah. It's the it's the client coming and saying, look, we spend 15 grand a year with you, we need this integration. And you look at it and they're the only ones needing it. And yet you've got to spend 2 months at 20,000, hoping that they'll continue to work with you for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Yeah. But there's an expectation on us doing it. A C-Event probably have capacity to do it, but I think in many ways they might be more pragmatic about it and just say, look, this is what we do. I think we are forced to be very flexible in many ways.
So how do integrations support the success of an event? Let's talk in positive terms about for event planners. What's the positivity around?
Data reporting, can get your data into the right place. Quality integrations that, any integration that moves data is successful. Yeah. So even people registering a C-Event, pulling a name, contact details, sessions they're interested in. That's hugely positive, pulling that information through. It's incredibly important for the whole event journey. So it's truly important that those things happen and are successful. I think, sorry, back to the question, sorry.
So it's really about how it can maximize the success of your event.
Okay. It will be due to validating data. Yeah. It's pushing that information back that says, was this a success? So often, though, without being a bit negative, you ask people, what does success look like for your event? What data do you need to use that validates it? They don't know, or they're not certain. And then it also makes a mockery of the importance of that integration, that data. But it's real time is the key bit. If you've got a comprehensive integration in place, someone checks in at an event, and in your CRM, it's pushing it back in real time to say that they've attended. You could just look in our system. People don't want to, they want to look in the CRM. Yeah. If you want to see who's registered, you could look in our system, but they want to be able to see that information in the CRM. And there's huge value in that because your sales representatives, your account managers, your enterprise, whatever they're termed, will be operating off of that centralized CRM. They won't have access to the admin dashboard in CrowdComms. Yep. They'll be in HubSpot or in Salesforce or in Freshworks, and they'll be leveraging that information. So that's why it's so crucial that it works and it's effective.
I think that's a really good and very, very valid point is your data strategy has to be the first thing you do. You can't just set up an integration and say, I just want everything to come across. Just send me whatever you want. It's like, why are you trying to do it? What important, what pertinent information can you bring across? And if we're talking about real time and maximizing the success of your event, and you're going to use that real time data, you want to build a two-way integration that's going to be real time. What are you going to do with real time data? You know, most integrations are real time, to be honest. There's only a few that we manage that have a little bit of a lag on. We're talking like 10 minutes maybe, you know, for each refresh of the data to come through. But it's dependent. Everyone's API is slightly different. What webhooks we can pull into. But in terms of, you know, are you going to actually send notifications? Are you going to send emails? Are you going to try and drive engagement based on that real-time data, or, you know, does it? It's not really that important to you. So yeah, there's a lot to think about, isn't there? In terms of, I think we can move on from there. So common issues with ill thought out integrations. Do we see any problems that kind of jump out at us when we're helping clients with their integrations?
Let's focus on need to know. So less so integrations, but I think people often feel they need to know more than they potentially need to know, and that's why it's so important to actually understand what are the key things we're trying to get out of here.
Yep.
Is it the number of contacts that the salespeople made at the event? Is it the amount of people that arrived? Is it the amount of engagement in sessions? What is absolutely crucial? What does success look like? Rather than just saying we need everything, because everything is not easy.
Yeah.
You know, it's all very targeted and specific. So I think making sure that you understand at the beginning as a stakeholder committee, and this is where it becomes very difficult. You've got these different decision makers in different areas of the business. Different kind of, you've got your marketing requirement, your sales-led requirement, your leadership requirement. I think making sure that that's joined up and there's a collective understanding of what success looks like and what factors you're going to consider as being a measure of whether you reinvest in that event, whether you do it again, how you do it, do you do it differently?
Yeah.
Understanding those things enables you to build the right integration, get the right information into your centralized system, so that you can be informed and collectively get what you need out of it.
Yeah. So I know we can't talk about the industry as a whole here, but you might have some insight into it. But how do we help troubleshoot? How do we help clients with their integrations? What do we do?
Well, I think by doing what I've just explained there, is trying to collaboratively look at, throughout all areas of the process, what are you trying to get out of this? You know, for us, being able to understand it from them enables us to advise them in the best way that we can, leveraging the people in your team or leveraging, you know, previous integrations that we've achieved and managed. So understanding the requirement is the biggest thing that we can do, because if you can understand it, then you know how you can present a solution to it. So that's probably the thing that we are most effective and most focused on doing. And then, you know, being solution orientated from a tech perspective also. We don't just say no. That possibly, some people see that as a negative because it can get you in a pickle, but we're always trying to present a solution or come up with things, whether it's as a sales unit, a support unit, or as you do as a development unit.
Well, it seems to me in the industry, looking at sort of the chatter around integrations, it seems that everyone is able to offer some technical guidance, and it seems like the customers want no-code solutions. They'd rather not have to pay for development or have that
I'd
advice.
be the same. We all would.
Yeah, exactly. But we, as a company, do offer that expert advice, don't we? We do put specialist API developers onto projects. We do talk to clients. We do help them figure out those integrations, the kind of nuances in between.
Yeah, we support them with that, but the biggest thing we do is if we have people and it's repeat based, if 20 or 30 of our clients are using something, we build it. Yeah, we can very much give that specific case-by-case advice and guidance An example came in this morning where someone wanted it. They're going to be the only person using a particular tool. We're not going to be able to spend 2 months for a £5,000 project.
Yeah.
I don't want to charge you 15 grand for integration on a £5,000 project because that's just makes no economic sense.
Yeah.
So you present alternatives that aren't going to cost £5,000, that might cost $200, but require a bit more legwork on both sides to kind of achieve the outcomes. And then it's very much a matter of, this is the option. What do you want to go for?
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground in that little chat we've had. So basically the takeaways, what would be your 3 takeaways if you're thinking about integration, son?
Make sure you know what you want to get out of it.
Yep.
What information, what data. Where is your point of truth from a data perspective, which 99.9% of the time will be a centralized CRM for pretty much every business. We have a CRM. The big businesses that we work with work on CRM. Some of the big businesses are very disparate and they work on 4 or 5 CRMs, which is very complicated. But know where your point of truth is in terms of data provenance, and be very focused about the key things and how you're going to use it when it gets back to that CRM.
Yeah. And I think probably for me, it would be, we're always here to help if you need us, if you need to talk about it, if you need advice, if you need guidance. Our developers are always happy to jump on a call and discuss integration. So are the whole companies. We hear it so often, don't we? Nearly every project has some form of integration attached to it. So we know it's an industry buzzword at the moment. We know it's a big issue for customers and clients and planners. So I think probably chat to us and see what we can do to help.
Get in touch. We've got great people.
Because we know all the options, right? We know we've got our own Zapier account. We've got our public API. We've got custom integrations in the platform. We can leverage all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much for joining us.